welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where we talk with people from all walks of the publishing industry. I'm Christy Stratus, historical fantasy and historical suspense author, and my awesome co-hosts are epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens and science fiction author David M. Kelly. Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, and we encourage viewers to chime in with questions for our guests or comment on what you hear in the show. And our guest tonight is a very accomplished, prolific guest. You may already know her, but we'll introduce her in just a minute. First, we're going to tell you what we have all been up to this week. Anything that's new with us. So do you guys have anything new going on? David, how about you?
No, I'm just kind of like hammering away as I always do. So
I'm sure you're doing all the writing.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. It's like I keep banging away.
But, sure.
Nothing of particular interest.
How about you, Richard?
Yeah, no, first I wanted to mention that I love the fact that it says Christy Stratos Fantasy and Suspense. We've got you into fantasy. Now we just have to get Dave to have David M. Kelly, fantasy science fiction author.
That's it. You've recruited
the force is strong in this one. Yes, Dave loves that saying too. So, no, with regards to what I'm doing, I just started a new job, and so it's been eating into my writing time. So. It's a neat job because my hours vary. So a lot of times I go in for a couple hours and they don't need me anymore. So I just come home and then I've got all day to write. But I've been setting up in a book event that Dave and I are going to be attending together a week Saturday. Nice. And that's been chewing a lot of my time. So I haven't got a lot of writing done. I was going to do a live read last Thursday that I said to you, and I didn't make it. I might do one this Thursday. Depends if I get any writing done between now and then. So my writing slowed down a little bit just to try and do make ends meet in other ways. But other than that, it's doing well. I'm working on When Legends Rise, which is book 4 of my High Cliff Guardian series. So how about you, Christy?
That's great. Yeah, I've been doing NaNoWriMo, and my only goal was to write every day, and I have so far, which I'm happy about. Whether it's just a few words or a lot of words, it doesn't really matter. I just want to not miss a day, basically. Yeah. So that's been going really well. And this week, another episode of Corrupted Magic published. So it's on Kindle Vella and Patreon. And this one is episode 17, A Place to Die. And this one is from one of our favorite characters' perspectives, Knox. And we're going to meet a new character and see some different parts of Boston, some ugly lower end areas. So if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely check it out on Kindle Vella or Patreon. I've been really enjoying writing it. I'm way ahead on writing it, so don't worry. There won't be any delays or anything like that. So yeah, it's been a really good, I'd say it's been a good week for me. Yeah.
There is one thing I just want to say, actually, and that's a big public thank you to Richard for arranging this writers event a week on Saturday that he just mentioned, because him and his wife Caroline have been doing all the work behind the scenes, and it's like, I haven't been able to do anything because I'm kind of miles away. So, so thanks, Richard, for doing this.
Oh, you're most welcome. We enjoy doing it. It's nice to get a bunch of authors together. It's always nice to hang with your tribe, even if you don't sell a lot of books. It's just nice to be together. Hopefully we do sell a lot of books. We've been trying to advertise it through local media stations and everything else. And as long as everybody tries to help advertise with us, and I think we'll do okay. And it's during the Christmas Sparkles event that's happening in this little town. Everyone loves shopping in St. Jacobs because it's an eclectic little town. So hopefully we'll do okay. And one other thing,
really sparkly.
Yes. One other thing I have to mention is this weekend I'm at St. Jacobs. So if anyone's local to where I am, they have the Sip and Shop. So on Friday night, it's a licensed event. You can come in and you get drinks and you just browse there's so many different vendors. This is like a world famous, it's like a flea market, but I would say it's more a farmer's market. But you can actually drink. In Canada, we're not as laid back as you are in the States, where you guys seem to do everything with, like when you do your Super Bowl parties and stuff like that. We don't do stuff as cool as that. But this one is kind of cool because you can actually drink and shop at the same time. So I'm looking forward to that. It's Friday and Saturday this weekend. I will be there, and so will my daughter Lauren, and she'll be selling her children's author's book. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's so nice. That's fantastic. Oh, something to really look forward to this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, all right. I think we're all set then to bring our guest in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So Richard's going to bring our guest in, and we are really excited to have with us today Anna J. Stewart, who is a USA Today best-selling author of more than 40 romances, and they range from spicy to sweet. So welcome. So glad to have you here, Anna.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start out with you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your books.
Sure. So you kind of spelled it out already. I write romance across the heat spectrum, sweet to spicy, depends on what genre I'm writing. I do write multiple genres within romance, but all of my books are always have a romance element in them, at least. Mm-hmm. And also usually have a little bit of excitement in there as well. So the recurring theme in my books are family, family found or family born to, whoever you surround yourself with going through this crazy life. I usually have large casts of characters and lots of potentials for spin-offs. And so it's my dream job and I'm loving it.
That's fantastic. How long have you been doing it? Because you have 40 books out, and that's an awful lot. So how long have you been doing this?
So I first got published in 2014, and it was a Christmas novella with Harlequin, Heartwarming. And since then, actually Exposed, which just came out today. I'm waiting on my author copies. This is the arc, but this is my first single title, Romantic Suspense, and it's actually number 53.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, big congrats. Wow.
So yeah, it's been fun and a crazy ride, and like I said, it's my dream job. So mostly.
Anna, when did you publish your first book?
2014. And then I've been writing for years, but 2014 was when my first one came out.
And you've published 53 books now.
Full-length books and novellas. About
in 8
half
years.
and half.
Holy smokes! I don't feel very worthy over here. Do you do?
We all write at our own pace. I'm sorry.
Do you do like the NaNoWriMo every month?
You know what? That's funny you should say that, because one of my local writers groups, they were putting together a team for NaNoWriMo, and I'm like, I've already done that a couple of times this year, and someday I'm going to take November off. That is my goal.
Yeah, that'll be
NaNoWriMo off.
You do it reverse. That's awesome. Yeah,
I love it.
So. How many words would you write a day then? Like, I know we're all different, and some people dictate, and some people are fast typers. I'm a very slow typer. I'm like a chicken peck. I don't type very fast, so 3,000 words is a very good day for me. You obviously must be more than that.
It depends on how close I am to deadline. I get a lot more words when I'm really close to deadline. I just turned a book in actually a week ago Sunday. And I wrote it in 20 days because I kept telling myself I wasn't in the right mind frame to write. And then I screwed myself and ended up having to spend 2 10-hour days writing to catch up so I could meet my deadline. But ideally, and I do keep track, I keep a writing journal. Ideally, I like to get anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 a day. And that's writing 4 to 5 times a week. So if the story's going really, really well, that's when I get those 5,000 words. But some days it's just like a 500 or 600 day words per day, and it's devastating. But sometimes you just can't push it. You just have to let be what is.
Yeah. That can be painful, especially when you're on a dedeline and like you feel the pressure, but at the same time, it's not working. Ugh. Do you have any tips for authors for when that happens?
First of all, don't put yourself in the position of doing that. So those days where you don't feel like writing, for me, most of the time, it's just because of laziness. And that's the hardest part for me, is getting my butt in the chair. And I don't know why, because I love it when it's going well. So I don't know why I'm such a procrastinator. But also, I found sometimes I'll write a scene out of order just because it's a scene I'm really looking forward to writing. And sometimes that's the only way to get the words flowing. So I'll just jump ahead and either just make notes or expand on an idea or something, or work on something that I really want to work on, so that it kind of kicks my brain into action. And then the words usually start flowing again.
Sure. Yeah, that's great advice. Absolutely. Sometimes you just got to get those creative juices moving, and then they'll work with you a little bit. Yeah.
So, from your new release, Exposed, I noticed you have I'll try that again. An endorsement from Jane Ann Krantz,
Yes.
describing it as a modern romantic noir.
Yes.
Now, I've not come across romantic noir before. I've written noir books myself, but not romantic noir. So could you tell us a little bit about what the readers can expect and whether that differs in feel from some of your other books?
It definitely differs from my other books. It's quite a bit darker. It starts in a very horrific way, told through the perspective of a murder victim who's about to lose her life. So I had one of my critique partners, because I always run stuff by two of my friends when I'm on the right track, I think. And one of my critique partners said, okay, this is great. I can't read anymore because it's going a little too scary for me. So I was really pleased with that. Of course, I'd be pleased with that quote from Jane Ann Krantz, who was so gracious to read Exposed. And when she said noir, it really kind of struck a chord, because that was really kind of what I was going for. It's so the Exposed is the story of a Hollywood photographer who works part-time as a paparazzo. I always get that mixed up. I didn't put it in the book for that reason. But she comes across some undeveloped film that, when she develops it, as is her hobby, it calls into question a notorious murder conviction in case that is supposedly settled, but what she uncovers raises questions about that. So it throws her into the path of a secretive society who's determined to stay in the shadows, and also, since it's a romance, into the arms of a cop that she probably shouldn't trust. So, like I said, it's a little bit darker than I usually go. Definitely has language in there. Definitely, it's a little spicier than I've written previously, and it was kind of a cathartic writing experience because I didn't have any restrictions. My editor literally said, "Write the book you want to write, however you want to write it. We'll edit it, and we'll go from there." Wow. So, yeah, and I think that's one reason why I don't know if I don't remember having bad days writing this book. But that could just be, the birthing process erasing itself from my brain. But I definitely feel as if it made me a better writer, because I was really able to embrace my voice in this one. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about this one. It's different, and I hope people like a good Hollywood murder mystery. I call it Women's Murder Club meets LA Confidential. So,
ooh, cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So when we were off air, we were talking a little bit about this big book conference going on right now in Vegas, and you'd mentioned that you are not an indie, so you're with a publisher, and then you talk about deadlines, and I guess that's one of the pitfalls of being with a publisher. I guess all of a sudden they give you a deadline you have to meet. Whereas an indie, I can wait 10 years to write my book, which isn't a good idea. But So how's your experience with a publisher? Did you have an agent? Did you pitch an agent to get to the publisher first? How did your journey come about with this publisher? Or have you had different publishers as well?
I do. This is my third publisher. I still write for Harlequin. I write for 2 of their lines. And the great thing about Harlequin is you don't have to have an agent to submit to them. I did have an agent at the time. I'm not currently represented. I would love to be, but I don't write in anything that's easily defined and pigeonholed. So it's really hard to get agents to take on something that they're not entirely sure they're going to be able to sell. So I've been on the agent hunt for 2.5 years. That should tell you how hard it is to get an agent. But in the meantime, I still write for Harlequin Heartwarming, which is their sweet romance line. And they were their first sale that I made. And I also write for their Romantic Suspense line. I love writing for Harlequin, mainly because I know what the expectations are, and it's kind of the consistent, it's a consistent schedule. I know when my deadlines are, I know when I'm going to be paid for what, and I have a great working relationship with my editor over there. And yeah, but I came across Arc Manor when I was recruited, or I was invited to write a novella for a magazine they had going at the time. And I met the editor, Leslie Robin, who is also a fantastic writer in her own right. And she and I just kind of hit it off, and she got me as far as what I was trying to write. And she let me write paranormal, which is actually my first love, paranormal romance, that wasn't going anywhere sales-wise with traditional publishing. So I switched over to contemporary, but I got to switch back to paranormal with her. And she talked to her publisher about starting a romance line through Caezik Romance. Or Caezik Romance is the romance line through Manor, and they usually publish science fiction and fantasy, actually. And he took a chance, and he's launching this new line, and they asked me to be the first single title release for it. So things kind of have just a lot of ways they've fallen into place, but it was really getting my foot in the door with Harlequin that kind of opened the doors I wanted to. And Harlequin was always my biggest dream, because I was a reader long before I was a writer. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's why I always say I'm living the dream.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Wow. And Harlequin, like you said, they do have very, very clear guidelines. I've seen their submission page, and it really leaves no questions in your mind as to what you're submitting to and what exactly they want with their different like categories and stuff like that. So I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And what's great is, and I think this is probably a I don't know. I'm out of words today. Obviously, you can tell. I think there's a misconception that writing romance, you're writing to some kind of formula. Yeah, I can tell you right now, there is no formula to writing romance. Otherwise, it would not have taken me 15 years to get published. They have guidelines, and there are certain things they want. There are definite things they don't want, but you know that going in. And it's really good going in with expectations. But there's also something to be said to being able to write something just free, not having to worry about whether I'm dropping an F-bomb, because one of the things I'm writing about is cops, and cops swear. Actually, so do I. But it's the best of both worlds, being able to write for both publishers.
I think the thing that amazes me the most is that, like, you're a USA Today best-selling author. You write for Harlequin, and you've got like 53 books out, so you're very prolific. And I'm just thinking that there's no hope for people like me trying to find an agent when you can't land an agent. Like it's such a difficult prospect to try and pitch an agent, because they're pretty finicky, to say the least. So what do you have tips for people trying to get an agent? Is there obviously there's not a magic bullet yet because you haven't found one, but
well, I have had two agents. Excuse me. I got my first agent shortly after finaling in a national romance writing contest, and shortly thereafter she decided she didn't want an agent anymore, and I tried not to take that personally. And fortunately she recommended me to another group of agents, and I talked to a couple of them, and I signed with another one. And then because I was primarily writing for Harlequin, there's nothing an agent can get me with Harlequin series that I really can't get myself. So there wasn't, from a financial perspective for myself, it wasn't beneficial to have an agent when I can just make my own deal with my editors when you're writing series romance. Now, when I move up into single title, which is what I'd really like to do, that's another question, which is why I'm on the hunt for an agent. But I think so much of finding an agent is hitting with the right story at the right time with the right agent. And that is like 3 lightning strikes in a bottle, and you've got to hit it at the right time. If I were writing more to market, I think I would probably have a little bit easier time. But because I don't write anything that's like, when I was writing paranormal, I didn't write vampires, I didn't write werewolves, I didn't write anything that was easily defined. I always created my own new worlds and my own new rules and all this kind of stuff that would take really a lot of work to promote, I think probably is how they were looking at it. So I think it's just a matter of deciding whether or not the arena you want to walk into requires an agent or not is a good question to ask. And also not jumping at the first agent who says yes. Really do your homework, know who you're submitting to. Oh, for the love of God, know who you're submitting to. Read their guidelines, read what they're looking for, because you don't want to submit something that is not on their want list, because that tells them you don't pay attention. and you want to make sure that they know that you understand the business. And I think that plays a lot into it too.
Yeah, that's great advice. It makes so much sense. And it's the same, you know, with what you're saying about reading very carefully what it is that they want. Same kind of thing when you're submitting directly to a small press, a big press, wherever. That's, yeah. I remember speaking to the owner of Luna Press Publishing, which is a small press, and she said exactly the same thing that you just said, where she was saying how many people submit and have not read the guidelines and aren't following the rules, and they just get tossed in the trash, you know, and you've lost your opportunity, and that's that.
Yeah, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. And if that first impression is, I didn't take the time to do my research about you before I sent you something, you're never going to get another shot with that. They will remember.
Yeah.
I mean, in one way, it's a really big industry, but in a lot of ways, it's a really small industry, and you never want to stand out for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I used to do recruitment, and it's like I had exactly the same experience with job applications. You know, it's like you'd have people applying for jobs, and they've clearly just not even looked at the job.
So the Circle of the Red Lily refers to a society that is possibly responsible for the murder that was caught on film that my heroine discovers. So as this book goes along, we learn a little bit more about it. We learn about there's a particular symbol that pops up every once in a while, and it's a phrase certain people that my heroine encounters they don't want to hear. They don't want to talk about it. It sends them into a panic attack. So as the series goes on, we will learn more and more about it. So will I, because I don't plot. So I'm really looking forward to starting book 2 next week to find out what happens next.
Nice.
But that's what the Red Circle of the Red Lily refers to. Is it's the society that will pretty much do anything to keep itself in the shadows.
Do not tell me you are a pantser and you have all of these deadlines with publishers and yourself. How are you doing it?
Sometimes I don't know. In fact, I'm just now reworking a proposal for one of the Harlequin lines. This is my third go around. And it's because she wants more detail. And I'm like, I don't do detail. I don't name all of the characters, and I don't know what crimes certain people have committed yet because I haven't written the book. But it's a challenge, and I have to remember that it's my job and I have to meet my job requirements, whether or not I like them or not. But yeah, no, I'm a pantser for the most part. I do at this point think I know where the end of the series is going, and I think I know who one of the big bads is, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll stay that way because I like to be surprised as I go too.
Sure. Yeah.
Call them all Bob.
Yeah, what was that?
Call them all Bob.
That's perfect.
Right. Bob 1, Bob 2.
I wonder how much flexibility there is, because you're saying like you made a proposal and then they wanted more detail and you might have to change some things. Do you find that publishers like Harlequin can be a little bit flexible if they like your idea?
I have discovered that as long as I stick to the core conflict between the hero and the heroine, that the details don't necessarily matter in the finished product. I think what they're looking for in those synopses is a progression of growth on the character's part. And this one in particular is romantic suspense. So I not only have to get the relationship part of it in a roller coaster kind of way, but also the external plot that they're involved in. And I think that's just where I missed the mark on this one. So hopefully tomorrow I will have rewritten the last 2 that I'm pitching and I can send it off again. And hopefully this time it'll go through. I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed for you.
So we're all pantsers on this panel, but that being said, I always know the ending of my book. Like I know how it's going to end. I just don't know how it's going to get there. And it might take me 600,000 words to get to that ending. So do you not know the ending?
Sure I do, because it's romance. And all romances end happily ever after.
So you just have to funnel it right back down into that spot again.
As long as I get to that happily ever after, everything else falls into place. And that's the great thing about romance is we all know where it's going. It's however we get there. That's the exciting part.
So it's like herding cats and getting them there in the one spot. Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect analogy.
I was thinking that you have secret society. I think you and Christy should collaborate and get together with. She's got the Secret Society of Dark Acts, and put your secret society together and have the two clash.
Ooh, that could be fun.
You guys could be like a James Patterson series.
Yes,
Oh,
we should do that.
That would be awesome.
Oh, so much fun. So yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, David.
No, go ahead, Christy. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that I know that we're, sort of approaching the holiday season. I don't like to think of it as Christmas time yet. Some people are already there and playing all the music, but we're coming toward that. Okay, so you are already doing that. You have a bunch of books that you're at least a part of. You're not there yet, David? Not until Christmas.
I'm never there on Christmas Day.
You do have a bunch of books that are Christmas, either anthologies or novellas or anything along those lines. Maybe there was box sets as well. So tell us a little bit about those, because everyone's kind of in the mood to start buying those.
Well, funny you should mention that. Exposed is also set at Christmas time. So it's a Christmas romantic thriller. So that worked out nicely. Our Christmas books are usually part of Christmas Town, which was my first sale to Harlequin Heartwarming. Melinda Curtis, who was already established at Harlequin, and she's been a longtime friend and kind of became my unofficial mentor without meaning to, I'm sure she thinks. But she had an idea for an anthology for Heartwarming, and they wanted to do one. What did an anthology meaning? It was 3 shorter stories in one collection that they could release. It was the same length as one of their full-length Heartwarmings. And Heartwarming is their sweet romance line. So there's little to no sexuality. It's very Hallmarkish, for want of a better term. Except with a little bit deeper emotional conflicts between the characters. Anyway, she had this idea and she said, do you want to give it a shot? And I'm like, sure. Because what did I have to lose? I wasn't published. I wanted to get my foot in the door somehow. So we came up, she and Anna Adams and I came up with the idea of Christmas Town, and it was inspired by the movie Love Actually, which is one of our favorite movies. And it was the idea, we had 3 different siblings with their own romances, and at the last novella, they all come together in one big town celebration. So that was kind of how Christmas Town started. And the first book did so well, even though Harlequin wasn't necessarily interested in continuing it. Melinda was really involved in the whole box set collection upswing. So she says, let's do a Christmas Town box set. So now, cut to a few years later, we just released our 7th box set. This one's Christmas Town Bake Off. And it's 7 interconnected stories that take place one right after each other. And it encompasses a week in Christmas Town where they're having a town bake off. And I will happily claim credit for the bake off idea, because I am addicted to the Great British Baking Show. And it just kind of fit really well with what we've been doing with Christmas Town. So yeah, that's our 7th box set. And I think our first set was one of the ones that hit the USA Today bestseller, back when box sets could actually do that a little bit more easily than they can now, which explains those are indie. And we worked really hard on those. And this is why I know I'm not destined to be an indie author, is because it takes way too much work. I just want to write the books and turn them in and move on to the next project.
I have to disagree with you right here, because I'm looking at your website right now. And as an indie author, like I say, if I don't release it next year, I don't release it next year. Not a big deal. Your website's got you releasing the PI's Deadly Charade, January 23rd, 2023. Deadly Vegas Escapade, September 26, 2023. Their Surprise Island Wedding, September 26, 2020. That's the same day. Red Lily, which is the sequel to Exposed. And by the way, congratulations. I don't know if we mentioned it, and Exposed released today.
Yes, today's the day.
Congratulations on the launch today. That's amazing. But Red Lily's coming out July 18th, 2023. So I'm counting at least 5 different books you're going to release in 2023. Have you even started any of them yet?
They're all done except for Vanished.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say, holy cow, how did you do all that?
Yeah, no. And well, that's one of the things that Harlequin has me turning things in way ahead of when publication day is.
That makes more sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but no, Vanished is actually due on the 31st of December, and I'm planning on turning it in before Christmas because I've written through the holidays like for the last 4 years, and I'd really like to take Christmas week off. So I'm planning on plowing ahead with book 2 and getting that finished in the next 6 weeks. Should be able to do it.
Still though, like, Richard mentioned the 2 of those are being published on the same day. They must have had deadlines relatively close together. Oh my goodness.
Actually no. So this is the funny part. I have no control over when they're scheduling things. They tend to look at what the type of story is and whether it's part of a series and all this kind of stuff. So this will be the 3rd time I've got a Heartwarming and a Romantic Suspense coming out on the same day, which I love because it cuts my promo time in half. I can do 2 in one shot, and it's like awesome. But that particular book was actually due 3 years ago, and I hit such a wall during COVID that I could not write for anywhere from 6 to 8 months. COVID hit, and right when COVID hit, my mother got ill. It was not COVID related. She had heart issues, and for the next 6 months, it was just a roller coaster, and the words were gone. So, and I will say this, Harlequin was so great about understanding that life happens, and they readjusted my release date. So other things had to get pushed up and other things had to get pushed back. So I just turned that Vegas book in earlier this year, and it was due quite a while ago. So I was so grateful that they didn't keep harping me, where's the book, where's the book, where's the book? Honestly, it was like, we'll take it when you've got it. And that was such a relief. But yeah, I love the idea that those 2 books are coming out at the same time. I was hoping they were going to.
That's so cool.
So just going back to the Christmas theme sort of briefly.
Sure.
One of your movies was, one of your books was made into a movie, I understand, which must be an amazing feeling. And it came out as a Christmas recipe for romance in 2019. So I was just wondering, could you tell us a little bit about that? And did you have any kind of like input into the script or other areas of production?
I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I got an email from my editor. I was getting ready to go to a big writers conference in New Orleans. And this was in, would have been about either March or I think it was March. No, it was May of 2019. I got an email from my editor saying, yeah, congratulations. Recipe for Redemption, which is the book it was based on, was optioned for a TV movie by Brainpower Studios. They started filming last week, and if you have time, they'd love to fly you up to the set.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Had no idea any of my books were under consideration. As a lifelong TV and movie junkie, this was like a huge dream come true. And it was just, I got back from that writers conference about a week later, and 3 days later, I was on a plane to Toronto. I got to visit the set. I even have a cameo in the movie. Wow. Yeah, it was just so much fun. And Brainpower Studios was absolutely wonderful. They treated me like a queen while I was up there, and everybody was just so gracious and so welcoming. And and then it aired in December. The book itself is not a Christmas story, so they turned it into a Christmas story, but they kept a lot of my dialogue. So a lot of the dialogue that's used in the script is actually what I wrote, which was another dream come true. So some things just happen, I guess, because they're meant to. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was just great.
I bet that's
incredible.
Amazing. For sure. So you mentioned briefly that you took 8 months off during COVID, and I'm still flabbergasted with that. Means 53 books is basically in 7 years. So that's 7.5 books a year, if I'm doing my math correct. That is just, I'm just about to fall off my chair here. But I was on your website, and I see a list of your books, and it says Principal Books. I've never seen that before. Can you explain what that is? It says
what was the phrase?
It says Principal Books list.
Oh, it just means that they can click on that, or anybody who visits my website can go to that page and they can print a list of all of my books in the order that they've released, and it says what series they're part of. So it's kind of like just a printable checklist.
No, I thought they could actually print your books off.
Oh, no.
Wow, that's probably a lot of paper, but that's really cool.
That probably, now that you said that, it probably requires a name change on the website. I'll take care of that. But yeah, it's just a checklist.
No, don't change it for me. I'm not the brightest sometimes. And I actually did click print just to see what would happen, and it just, like you say, gives me the actual sheet that I can print. And then I didn't figure it out. I thought maybe my computer was glitching. So no, you don't need to change it on my account. I thought that was pretty cool, and I never heard of that before, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I was a reader a long time before I was a writer. I mean, I was a horrible student because all I wanted to do was read romance novels, and I had a terrible time keeping track of what author wrote what and what order they came in. So I always told myself, when the time comes and I have a website, I want it easily found, easily printable, easily checked off, so that readers can find exactly the right story that they're looking for easily.
That's a great idea.
It is a good idea. You also have on your website, I believe, a place where readers can apply to be reviewers for your book, part of your review team. Yeah, and that's really cool because, first of all, of course, if anybody's a fan of yours, they would love, I'm sure, to be part of your review team. But also, it's oh my goodness, I lost exactly where I was going. But anyway, I thought that was a really cool thing. Oh, because the form is relatively simple, and sometimes with other authors, I've seen these very complex forms, and you're promising to do this, and it's like practically like you're under oath. And this was much more welcoming. Really, really nice, actually. Good. Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, I don't want to scare anybody off. And once they're in the review team, it's up to them whether or not they want to leave a review. Now, that said, if they sign up and then I'm 10 books in and they have yet to request a copy, yeah, that's when they kind of get booted off. Because I don't want to I want everybody to read my books and leave a review, but I'd also like people to buy my books because it's part of how I get paid. So, most of my reviewers, I'm thrilled to say, not only get the ARCs, then they go out and they buy it. So when they leave a review on Amazon, especially, it comes back as a verified purchase, even if they're a member of my review team, which I am so grateful for. I have quite a few of those who do that. But yeah, anybody who wants to join my review team, if you're up for leaving reviews, I would love to have you.
That's very nice. And is that run at all through your publisher, like Harlequin, or do you get ARC copies and you can make your own decisions what you
That's all on me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
So growing up, you say you were a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So can we expect to see any sci-fi or superhero romance books in the future?
Maybe some Fantasy with the Dragon?
I've never been a big reader of fantasy. I love fantasy movies. Believe it or not, I can't stand rom-coms for the most part, even though I write romance. The rom-coms tend to drive me nuts, depending on which ones they are. But the action movies, the superhero movies, I just saw Wakanda Forever. I don't think I'll emotionally be the same for the rest of my life. But anything that's, big, blow 'em up action movies, I am there. Those are my kind of movies. And I'm actually playing around with a new idea genre-wise, but I'm leaning more toward horror. Stephen King was a big early influence for me, so was Dean Koontz, and I'd love to kind of explore that a little bit. But a superhero book, that could be really interesting. As far as science fiction and fantasy, there's a lot of intricate world building that goes into that, and I don't know whether or not I'm capable of that. That said, as a diehard Princess Leia fan, I will never say never to anything. If the right idea pops into my head, chances are I will write it.
I think you can do it. Like, I'm a pantser, and I don't world build. I know people spend years and years building worlds. I kick the guy at the front door and I discover the world as he sees it. And that's how my world builds. And then I make Excel spreadsheets as I go along. But Yes, so you don't need to world build to do fantasy or science fiction. I guess science fiction may be a little bit more because you got to research. You got to be a little bit more. Depends if it's science fiction fantasy or not, I guess. But if it's pure science fiction, then you got to do some research. Just pure fantasy. Like I just explore the world through his eyes. So that's my world building. My characters build my world for me. And listening to you talk about how you write, I think that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, it probably is. And I probably haven't let myself think too much about it because I'm Dory. I am so easily distracted by whatever is over here that I can forget to look at the other. But no, science fiction and fantasy, they help make me into the storyteller that I am. If I hadn't seen Star Wars when I was, 7 years old, it's the first movie I remember seeing in the theater. Not only did it inspire my love of storytelling, but also introduced me to the whole idea of girl power. We got that in heavy doses in the 70s with Wonder Woman and Bionic Woman and Princess Leia. And there was never a time in my life where women weren't capable of doing everything that men could do. So that's really and that's another crux of almost all of my books. And I always say this, that my heroines don't need a man, but when they find the one they want, that's who they go after. So that women empowerment thing was ingrained in my brain from a very early age.
Yeah.
That's
I noticed
awesome.
that you have the ongoing theme of family found and made in your books in general. So that also means a lot to you as well then, right?
It does. I come from a very small nuclear family. It's mostly just me and my mom. So my friends are my family. That's just the way it is. And that tends to be how I write my books. In the Circle of the Red Lily, it's going to be a 5-book series. You meet all 5 heroines because they're 5 best friends, and you meet them all in the first book. And they're each going to get their own story, and they're each going to deal with this particular case in some way. They each bring something special to the table. But at the core, it's a story about friendship and family and the community that we build for ourselves as we move through this crazy thing called life.
That's great.
That's great. So I'm just, I see we're getting near the end of our show here, and I just want to know, you probably said it, but you have so many books coming out. What's your next release? Again, Exposure released today, so congratulations again.
Thank you.
When is your next book coming out?
The next one will be out in February, and that will be the PI's Deadly Charade. That is the 6th book in my Honor Bound series for Harlequin Romantic Suspense. And it's a bit of a redemption book. My hero is an ex-con who falls in love with a lawyer, up-and-coming DA. So there's a little bit of a conflict there because he doesn't want to ruin her career by her getting involved with him. But they end up going undercover when she's looking into the death of a friend and he is looking for a missing teenager, and their cases kind of collide and they end up having to work together and the sparks ignite.
Nice.
Wow. I'm sure you haven't forgotten one that's coming out next week.
No, this one is the last one for the year, as far as I know. Yeah.
So where can we find your books as well? So is it obviously you can get them on your website, you're on Amazon, and we're going to look for Anna J. Stewart.
Yes. Anna J. Stewart. I'm sorry?
Are you wide? Do you publish wide, or do you publish just exclusively on Amazon?
Oh, no. Both publishers are wide. Harlequin, you can get through harlequin.com. In fact, their series romances tend to come out a month before street date. So if you order books through them, you'll get it, especially the print books, you'll get them a month prior. And Arc Manor is also wide, print and digital. They did discount Exposed currently for $2.99 on digital, and that'll stay up for a couple more days, I think. And for print, my publisher, bless his heart, I said, I don't want people to have to pay $15 for a trade paperback for somebody they might not have read before, because I know what it would take for me to make that investment, and it's not going to happen very often. So he searched and searched and searched and found a printer who did it for $10. So trade paperback for $10, and it's a beautiful book. My author copies are on the way. I hope they'll get here soon. And he was very proactive in listening to what I wanted, and to learning more about the romance industry, because he's a novice to the romance world, but he is a quick learner, and it's great to have a publisher in your corner like that, for sure.
Absolutely. Sounds like you got very lucky there.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on our show today. We really enjoyed having you, and I love talking to you and hearing all the things you said. And again, I'm probably not going to sleep tonight just thinking 53 books in 7 years. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, guys. It was great talking to you.
Oh, you're most welcome. So next week on Lurking for Legends, we have science fiction author John Dyer. John's born in, I should research or rehearse these things, born in Chickamauga, Georgia. So if anyone's from Georgia, you know how to say that better than I do. John moved to Asia in 1956. Wow, that's before I was born. When his father took an engineering assignment with a power utility, he attended grades 1 to 12 in an international school, touring with his family through 29 countries before settling in the Midwest. Wow. A computer scientist, he is a founder of an IBM-affiliated software company and an early innovator in electronic commerce. Well, that'd be interesting to hear what he has to say. He brings a lifelong interest in science and engineering to everything he writes. So I look forward to speaking with him next week. So for Christy, Anna, I got John in there, sorry. I've already got him in there already. So for Christy, Anna, Dave, and myself, we wish everyone a good week ahead. Until we meet again, take good care.
Good night.
Night.